Okay, so today I'm going to give an overview on the research that I've begun this term, in the winter term, and we're going to get the surveys going in the summer, so this is preliminary research. So what I want to give you first of all is the background, where I'm coming from with this research. So the research is called Patterns of Art Support in Newfoundland Labrador, and my basic, what I hold to be true, which I think is an important part to pop in there, is that a well-administered democratic state in which citizens are encouraged to be knowledgeable and engaged in their communities cannot exist without art. When we attend to a work of art, getting immersed in a novel, caught up in a piece of music, submerging our vision in the structure of a painting, moving with the moves of a dancer, we learn to attend to other people as well, putting aside our own interest to attend to another. We learn to think in new ways. Without the arts, society forgets the need for critical thinking, for independent thought, for moral attention to others, as well as concern for one's place and one's own well-being. This is the role of arts in society, and arts patronage, which is the background of this project, has always been fundamental in supporting this, from the ancient world through to the present. So patronage, which is the dirty word for what I'm looking for here, is a long-term strategy for artistic development, making a creative space that enables an artist to develop artistically without the fear of scaring off collectors. It allows artists the financial stability to make art for audiences that are not mere financial speculators. In this way, patronage allows artists the freedom to make art beyond the purposes of generating sales. It gives artists the freedom to speak to and for their worlds. Patrons provide resources that open up creative space. That is, a patron believes that over time, the artist's work will be recognized for what it is, and that art is what it does. Patronage is an act of belief that offers freedom and which is future-oriented. So here, patronage generates reception for an artist's work that embodies new social visions. So this project, to my knowledge, right, that's what I've come up with so far, is the first to examine how the arts are supported in Newfoundland and Labrador in particular, how they are supported. Which areas of business, government, and foundations allocate to the arts in Newfoundland and Labrador? What sort of support do they offer, and to which organizations, artists, and art forms? How does Newfoundland and Labrador compare in per capita public and private support to the arts? How does this compare to other jurisdictions in Canada? This project seeks to investigate where art support comes from in the province and to offer feasible recommendations, and this is a really important part, right? I do want to make some recommendations at the end of this. Feasible recommendations on how contributions to the arts can be optimized by identifying who is contributing, how they are contributing, and how to ameliorate these arts contributions. So there's no question that support for the arts is integral to the province. Support for the arts not only raises the quality of life for people who live here, but it makes the province more attractive for investors, business, and newcomers. In fact, the need to develop the arts in Newfoundland and Labrador is a key factor in business assessments of the province. And the apparent lack of support does stand in the way of new business initiatives coming into the province. In 2009, Business for the Arts presented their report, A Strategic and Economic Business Case for Private and Public Sector Investment in the Arts in Canada. And here they identified corporate and social benefits for funding the arts. Corporate benefits include strongly impacting regional development, not a surprise, corporate regional responsibility, employee attraction and retention, and marketing benefits. The social benefits include education, community engagement, multiculturalism, regional brand identity. And these are things that do help the province. Moreover, art promotes primary values of our society, and this is what I think is most important. The primary values of our society: freedom, experimentation, diversity, and concern. Public and private support for the arts is about partnership. It is about collaboration in the pursuit of shared goals, such as questioning or elaborating on social, cultural, or political structures, critiquing a flawed but dominant system, revealing who we are to ourselves, or promoting new values and social ideals. Art support develops public interest and appreciation for the arts, which directly develops a society that encourages a healthy push for diversity and experimentation in the local community, from entrepreneurship to community building. So that is, support for the arts develops both artists and audiences over time. And this is because awareness and appreciation of the arts is not about promoting new commodities for either the artist or the patron. Rather, it is about the importance of art as communication, critical insight, and new understandings for an evolving culture. This is in order to enhance local pride, a sense of identity, and boosting the image of place as vibrant and dynamic, right? Our place as vibrant and dynamic. As the Business for the Arts investigation shows, investment in the arts not only ensures a positive direct return, but results in more indirect benefits, such as the promotion of tourism, social well-being, and the subsequent development of other areas of the economy. Because money spent on the arts is spent in all areas of the economy. Given that public and private investment in the arts is crucial to the social and economic development of a region, it remains necessary now to engage recommendations for investment in this region. And this is the purpose of the project, to determine the patterns of support and, when possible, to determine the reasons for or against supporting the arts throughout the province, right? What reasons have there been, and there are lots, that people give not to support the arts. Now, the background purpose of the project, the purpose is to determine what resources, such as financial funding and in-kind donations, are allocated to the arts already in Newfoundland and Labrador. The primary focus is on financial support for arts and culture industries. However, because of where we are, I am strongly looking at in-kind donations as a crucial element that must be included in these assessments of art support in various places. The project is therefore, for my project, is going to examine and analyze, this is probably the harder part, resources for the arts from 3 levels of government, from business, from various NLAC projects, from various grants, and from sponsorships. So in analyzing these resources, the project will determine what aspects of the arts are supported and who or which arts groups are supported. This information will lead to a comparative analysis of public and private sector support for the arts in Newfoundland and Labrador with other regions in Canada. Right? So I want to situate what's actually happening here. The goal, therefore, is to determine who contributes, right? Who's actually supporting the arts, and how is that money able to be, or funding, I'd say, able to be used. It's important, I just want to reiterate, it's important that, for reasons I haven't quite figured out yet, that this hasn't been done before, right? That there's no data out here. So we have to find it. So almost no information is available about art support in this province that looks at the entire province. This makes it especially difficult to gauge what support is needed, how to best actualize that support, how to understand where Newfoundland fits in the context of Atlantic and Canadian trends of supporting the arts. There's been no overarching examination or analysis of art support in the province that considers both public and private sector giving. And for this reason, it's difficult to determine right now not only where support comes from, but where it goes and to what extent it actually supports the arts, right? I think this will open up a comparative context with other Canadian regions and how to develop feasible and innovative ways to develop art support in Newfoundland and Labrador. Now, the next part is more like a literature review. Here, key public data concerning art support comes from a variety of places so far. Provincial government statistics, Canada Revenue Agency data, the National Household and Labour Force surveys. They're not really all that updated these days. The CADAC, which is the Canadian Arts Data Database. These sources offer preliminary insights about arts funding and support in Newfoundland and Labrador. For example, we learned that in 2013 there were approximately 1,200 artists, with 590 of them based in St. John's. That is a really thick group of artists there. So 590 of them based in St. John's. I think the only other place we see this concentration is in Nunavut, actually. At the same time, Newfoundland and Labrador had 6,600 cultural workers, with 2,400 based in St. John's. Only one arts group, the Newfoundland and Labrador Arts Council, the NLAC, is a member of the CADAC, right, the Canadian Arts Database. making the data on other art support in the province really difficult to identify and assess. So for this reason, we're going to be sending out surveys, so send me or email me your info. I'll be sending out surveys to find this stuff out. So according to one national report of donations and volunteering in the arts in Canada, using data for 2010, the volunteer rate, so that's kind of interesting stuff, the volunteer rate matches the donor rate for the arts at a Canadian average of 2.7%. In Newfoundland and Labrador, the volunteer rate, right, people are just volunteering for the arts, is 2.7%, while the donor rate is 3.1%. So this project, I want to take information like this and update it, right? That's 2010, that's quite a while ago. We want to update this information and more importantly, analyze this information. Who is doing the volunteering? What does volunteer support entail for us? Who is donating to the arts? To which arts groups, institutions, and media are they donating? And how does this compare to other cultural groups around the province? So some preliminary investigations in a national comparison, and according to StatsCan, as of 2010, residents of Newfoundland and Labrador donated most often to charities in general. Right? And it's very difficult to pin these down to which, what kinds of charities we're talking about. To charities in general, although they donated less each time than I think any other province except for Quebec. In reports from 2010 to 2000, there is a Hill Strategies, I don't know if anybody knows of this group, fabulous. They've mined some of the StatsCan information and produced a number of insights. For instance, to set the context, nationally, donations to the arts fall behind all other donations. Surprise! From religion to health, social services, environmental organizations, international organizations. The arts are 1% of all donations in Canada. That's according to the most recent figures, right? So that's around 2000, 2003. The same report suggests that arts and culture volunteers in Canada are not the same people. Some people volunteer their time, other people volunteer money. Few do both, right? There's a few donations out there, people who are donating both things. Arts and culture, recreation, and sports are considered together in one donor category in StatsCan reports, which makes it very difficult to parse some of these things out. But it can be done. So in 2010 Hills Strategies research, it was found that donors to this category, right, arts, culture, recreation, and sports, overwhelmingly donated because they felt compassion. Right? That was a remarkable reason for donating here. So because they felt compassion for those working in that category. However, when polled about why people did not give to that category, right? So why are you not giving to the arts? The overwhelming response, which has been discussed before here. The overwhelming response was a concern about how requests were made and how efficiently money was used. I think this is a very big reason to turn around what we understand art support to be, right? What patronage is. And that will get back to a more collaborative model that I want to open up. This point, anyway, getting back to how requests are made. This point is key to the study because preliminary investigations have suggested that in Newfoundland, the ways by which arts groups request funding support affects how likely and how much institutions contribute to arts groups. The information about art support from institutions, business, and government collected through this research project will, I think, help to reach concluding recommendations not only about where Newfoundland stands in terms of public and private arts donations, nationally, regionally, but also about best practices for arguing for art support. Another point, in contrast to other types of donors, donors to arts and culture tend to be male, over 45 years, highly educated, married, and pretty well off, which is kind of odd. It's an odd category. Normally that is not the case. So this is rather different than the normal donation demographic. So this project, I want to look at, who's doing this kind of donating in Newfoundland. Is it the same sort of, are we doing it with the same sort of numbers here? Ultimately, learning who are the arts and cultural donors in general, I think will help develop useful and helpful relationships between these groups and the arts, right? So just identifying who we're talking about and why they're giving, right? Are these all gifts? It's quite possible. Next point, in the year 2000, 1.7% of the population or approximately 7,000 people, donated to the arts in Newfoundland and Labrador, giving approximately $500,000. That's not very much money. This is the second least province by far, only to the 2,000 donors that were in PEI the same year. 10 years later, 13,500 people donated to the arts, and approximately 11,500 Newfoundland Labrador residents volunteered in the arts and cultural organizations. So within 10 years, that number doubled. We hope to develop this data with both more up-to-date numbers and primarily more information about who are and are not the institutional donors, the business donors, right? There's all sorts of corporations in the province we give a lot of money to. I want to find out what they give back and how that's coming back. If these numbers have grown, have they shrunk? Have they altered in any sort of way? So it's imperative to know this information in order to maximize the efficiency of giving, basically, by matching how support is offered and how support is needed. These are the two sides, I suppose, of this project. Next point, most recently, major donations in Newfoundland have been announced in 2015, such as Eleanor Bill Radcliffe's $3.25 million donation to the rooms earmarked specifically for a World War I exhibit. Fortis donations of the same for that exhibit. The 2014 TD Bank $250,000 donation to the same exhibit. There's a trend here, and I do want to open that up a little bit to find out if there are ways of donating we can encourage donations to the arts that are not tied to one particular history, right? It is the history of one particular group as well. If we're going to open up the province, which we are, then we might want to open up how representation is happening in that province. So that's a big one. Statoil, they have a pretty big sponsorships that we're getting into there. St. John's Folk Festival, Art Smarts, Visual Arts Scholarships, sponsorships in various ways. I want to open up, right? How many different things can we come up with? What other things are out there? What do people want to give to? And I have been, as this has been publicized, I've been having various emails trickle in, both from arts groups who couldn't be here, which is mostly playwrights, and then from other businesses saying, this is interesting. Maybe we can come up with some plans together, right? So this is exactly the kind of stuff I'm looking for. Next point, of the $142.1 million in Canada Council funding, Newfoundland and Labrador got $1.4 million, with most of that supporting theatre, writing and media arts, primarily in St. John's and in the Avalon region. We want to open up. One of the questions I got from Canada Council representatives was, why aren't people applying more from Newfoundland, particularly outside of St. John's? So this is going to help, I think, develop more ideas, right? How we can encourage people. Ask why, right? Why the artists themselves, and how the artists are asking for money, why they're asking money in particular places or in particular ways, and of course looking at the other side. In 2004, the Canada Council commissioned a report, some of you might know this, on on national arts service organizations. This is a slightly different angle, which found that while these organizations, so arts service organizations, while these organizations demand a high level of training and experience in their work of cultural advocacy, policy development, professional development for arts workers, these organizations themselves are severely limited by continual, I'm thinking you might know about this, continual financial and staffing shortages. And Newfoundland and Labrador is no exception. I think the hope here is that with reliable data collection on art support in the province, these NASOs would be in a better position to advocate for the arts, whether it be opening channels of collaboration, of community building, or approaching the right supporters for the arts, being able to play more of a matchmaker role in terms of this collaborative approach. There are a number of government programs that support the arts in this province. Determining how these resources actually address the needs of the different sectors, I think needs to be looked at again, needs to be updated in certain ways. Looking at different areas of the province would make useful, I think, would be able to make useful changes to the efficiency and the use of governmental support. And finally, groups such as Business and the Arts NL offer various ways of connecting skill sets, development opportunities, and matching needs between businesses and arts groups already, right? Arts groups and individuals across the province. So using the research outcomes of this project, the forms of connection and the possibilities that groups like Business and Arts offer, I think we'll be able to open up some new ideas here and make some real recommendations about outcomes. But I think I basically said what I think is important so far. Is that good? I will start.
We have a few minutes for questions, so maybe some of you who are left out can come up with the questions.
So, Jennifer, just for a starter, if I email you a request for a copy of your notes, I'd be happy in response to provide you the financial cloud survey for Literary Arts NL.
And
what you have already is helpful for fundraising.
right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that, if you want to throw that out, that might be a good way for you to.
Had I been, really on the ball, I would have brought my surveys with me, but I haven't finished them yet. So,
I'd be happy, and probably this is a recommendation I'd make to Business and Arts NL, is just to supply you with our emails and. But for me, I'd want to have some.
The hard copy. Absolutely. Yes. And this is a big part of it, I think. What I found is just doing the basic social sciencey type research, right? Looking for this information. I wonder if you would be willing to supply this information. Nobody's interested. But with putting up a platform, here's why arts are important. Here's what I want to do with the information. Here's what we want to, put together as recommendations, or change those recommendations, or find something to recommend, right, more strongly. That seems to be getting a lot of people interested. So, yeah, for sure. I'm happy to send that out to it. We'll all get a survey.
We have, at the registration area, we have a clipboard where you can put down your email address if you're interested in connecting, and Jennifer can relay some information to us, and we can send questions and stuff to her too.
Yeah, just practically speaking, the research side, where we're actually going to send out these surveys, is going to get started. It would be getting started this summer. So I've got 2 grad students who are going to get going with that, but they needed a break, to be honest.
I've got a little bit of experience in this. I worked with the City of Barrie. The City of Barrie was very fortunate that they designated an arts and cultural department not attached. We fought for that, not attached to Parks and Recreation.
Yeah.
So they focused strictly, and people fought for that for a long time. Hill Strategies has ongoing data. And what we found was when we approached business, it always had to be on the level of what's it going to do for your business? Not how great arts were, because you're preaching to people who already believe in art. But what's it going to do for your business? And it's the numbers. It's the fact that in Nova Scotia, they bring in $1.1 billion just for arts. That's 3.2% of the GDP.
Right.
Newfoundland Labrador doesn't do quite as well.
No, and that's what we do have some information on, right? Just how that translates.
And a lot of the data that, because Canada-wide, it's arts and recreation, a lot of the data that you get, unfortunately, is recreation money. Like when Scotia Bank puts a pile of money into hockey, well, all of a sudden that becomes donations to
It does. It has.
So it's very, very deceptive.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
So I've, having sort of been through some of this stuff.
This is partly why what we started with was doing looking, through the Hill Strategies reports.
Get Mark Hill here. He'll do.
Yeah, for sure.
presentation to the City Council.
That'll be the next step.
Dynamic
More funding.
speaker.
I need funding to mediate the arts, right? But looking through those, looking through the Stats Can reports, and there's various reports, and they work out very well, where they do break these things down, but just, it takes a bit of time. So what we found is actually the most efficient way of going about this is doing the surveys, right? Putting together interviews and going to various parts of the province and just actually talk to people. And this, so far, has been working really, really well, right? To break down and into something.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. There's another question.
Jennifer, you said at one point there was essentially doubling of money and volunteer hours.
Mm-hmm.
Any indication why that is? Was it the resource industry? Was it specific events? Do you know where that huge jump comes from?
Off the top of my head, no.
No.
No, I don't. But, I mean, we can speculate. That's between 2000 and 2013. 2013 being the absolute peak, right, of how well we have problems. Right? So there's more time and more money, right, to spread around at that time. And there was more people.
And better data collection.
Yeah.
I don't know, any road had her organization, I always forget what it's called, about volunteerism before 2000. It was? Yes.
Community sector.
That's a community sector.
Oh, right, okay, yeah. Yep.
There's a lot of monsters here, what role does one play? How does it factor into what you're seeing so far?
How does that factor in so far? So far, it is factored in by, that is the first place I went to apply for my own funding, which is a whole other story. The mediation of mediating members, right? But, so, mine was the first place I went. I applied for funding to do this, and it's partly because I wanted to, I mean, I have talked about Patronage before and done studies of that kind of thing, but to actually apply that in a more practical sense, applied to money for the funding, and I've been working with graduate students, right, to do the training, to do, you know, something that doesn't really happen here very much, which is doing statistical analyses of the arts, right, so bringing the social science stuff into the arts, and that's basically what I've been doing so far, right, so.
So how does it, the existence of MUN as an arts patron of sorts,
So you're looking at some bridging opportunity?
or supporter, or
A supporter of the arts.
facilitator, creator?
You're getting at something, but I have no idea.
I don't know what I'm
If
getting
that is- Read my mind.
What I do might illustrate that the choir that I run exists entirely through funding through the arts, or through money.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's the kind of thing you're getting at, right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think so, you know, because we have a Department of Fine Arts, and so they produce artists and they produce exhibits throughout different communities. And through the Botanical Garden, we're connecting with them with the Artist in Residence program that will then, of course, be connecting to the science faculty. So
Right.
there's MUN is playing a role in supporting and developing arts, and some of that has some financial contributions to it in terms of honorariums for artists and the like. So I think it would be interesting to wrap that aspect of
Yeah.
the arts community into the overall study of how arts are supported. Because some of that, of course, will be done with outside money and contributions as well as market support.
Right. Good point. I haven't looked at that yet at all. The place where I actually am. I'm just trying to reason to get it. But.
Jennifer, do you have a sense of what are the strengths of the arts communities right now, and what, you know, going into a less than half time perhaps, what artists, what opportunities?
Strengths of the arts communities. I mean, from what I can find, the arts communities in Newfoundland and in various regions of Newfoundland all seem to be incredibly good at collaboration, at working together, coming together. And this was seen, I think, when was the last time I actually saw this thing really happen fast? When we were talking about this, it was the city. It was that budget when like everything was cut, when like the arts were slashed, and within 2 days, the St. John's arts communities all got together, mobilized super quick, and you know, got things, put their voice out there, got it turned around. I mean, it was amazingly good. That is a skill, or if it's an art, I don't know. But it was amazingly good, and that I think is really a strength. So. That's one little part of this of the analysis, and that's kind of what I've done so far. I mean, I've done that in the past already. Is looking at ways by which we can put that together, right? Codify that, like write that down somehow. Like, what are the reasons? What are we good at? How can we mobilize that a bit further? Stuff back it up. Thanks.
I'm always amazed that we don't ever seem to get to the question of what the arts can do for us as a people.
Yeah.
And I think we miss a lot of opportunities. The government misses a lot. Everybody misses a lot of what having art in your life can do for you, no matter where you are or what stage of life you are in, right?
Right.
So I think that's a big problem we have here in Newfoundland. Business Arts in Newfoundland is trying to do something about it, I know, to bring the artists and the business people together. And many of the arts organizations within Newfoundland are presently working at things that they as artists can bring to the business community to change the business community, to help them become more sustainable, etc. But there's a big role for the arts to play in our schools. There's a big role for the arts to play at MUN. If only people can shift out of their way of thinking about the arts as being up on display or a night where we go for entertainment, or we use beautiful things in our houses, traditional things that our relatives have made or whatever. I mean, the arts are more than objects. The arts were made in a context. They were made at a time in history. There's a message the artist is trying to get out. It can be interpreted 1,000 different ways, but it's in using the arts, when engaging with the arts through interpretation and inquiry-driven engagement with the arts, that we can become, and our cities can become, and we can become as a people. You started off with democracy, and I was down here cheering around, right? I don't know if you got the look or not, but it's all about who we as a society are. And there are places in the world where the arts are in schools, and I'm not talking about teaching kids how to become artists. I'm talking about engaging with works of art to further your disciplinary, no matter what the discipline is, and to further who we become as people, citizens in a democracy. So I mean, our government is missing the boat, the university is missing the boat in many respects. I don't mean any disrespect, but I've talked to people about this at the university. But there are places where artists can make, works of art can be brought in and can be used in specific ways in physics, in chemistry, in business classes, in any of these. And we surely need it in our school system, but it's always the first thing to go, and that's the creation of the arts. But there are ways to work with the arts so that it's more than just fiscal, it's just more than just financial, it's more than just, getting the money more fairly put around. They can make or break us as a people in the way that we use them.
Right. And that's basically why I did lead with that.
I know.
Because that's what I hold to be the case here, and I think it's really important. Well, I have found it's really important to just put that on the table, right? That is the reason for this sort of analysis. So on the one hand, that is where we're coming from, right, in doing this research, is that the arts are very important for more than just, they're more than just commodities, right, which I think I've said in there somewhere, right? So they're more than just commodities, they do things, right? The arts
And I
are
knew
very
that when
special.
you let off, that's what you were all about. But the other thing, when somebody's bringing up sports, and it amazes me that I can get my telegram brought each morning, and half of it is sports.
Yes.
And I don't see anything about the arts.
No.
And I wish I could write or get myself in there to start to talk about the things that the arts can do for us. I mean,
This very thing this weekend,
it's
where we
crazy.
lost the arts section, like where you used to be able to hold it in your hands,
Yeah.
and that's
It's
totally
okay.
disappeared. And why is it the sports section still sells newspapers, but they don't feel that the arts section does?
We need to do something about it.
So my second point, right, so the first point is that that's basically,
Apparently, we're spending $4 billion a year in sports betting, so it may be something to do with. That was on the morning show this morning. Canadians spend $4 billion a year
billion on sports
betting on
betting.
sports.
It's amazing.
Yeah,
So what I want to start with is, what I have started with.
Exactly, art betting. It's a first recommendation.
How much would you put on who's going to win the NL Book Award? We got the short list out.
Exactly.
What I'm hoping to happen is that these two facets of the research are gonna work together,
Yeah.
right? right? So the research I've done before that is related to this, on the analysis side, is that's where I come from. I come from pragmatist aesthetics. That's what I do, right? So I'm bringing that together with the number crunching, right? So there's not very much data out there to support these discussions in different ways. I think there must be many different ways by which we can talk about the value of the arts, the significance of what they do, how they interact, what they do for people, for communities, for all sorts of things. So there's lots of discussions. I can talk about that for hours. But what I want to do is bring these together so that we can have the data to actually support that. Right? There are instances. There are instances where companies will not come here, businesses will not come here, will not invest in Newfoundland because there are no sidewalks in the 9 months of the year, and there's nothing to do. Right? The arts are different. We do have to support them in order to engage people, to bring people together, to show different ways by which we can represent ourselves, to represent the island, to talk about who we are as a people, as a culture. That's important stuff. The other thing that I think is important here is that the word that I mentioned a word hesitantly in the presentation, which was codify, and in a lot of different realms, and I find this within the university and outside the university, people often don't want to codify the arts in Newfoundland. It's as if we've had this conversation with somebody, maybe with Michelle, that it's the arts as if the arts are a backdrop, right? It's who we are. We don't need to fund that because it's what we do in our spare time. Right? There are all sorts of problems with that sort of thing. And also, even if we hold to that, even if it's partly true, it's only supporting one particular group, right? And that's not representative of who we are, of what kind of people is happening in this problem, what are we doing? What are we doing here? So I think we have to open that up a bit. That assumption that we can just make art, and art that's going to be great, and art that's going to be, open and available to lots of people without the funding, right? Without any sort of support or engagement of many groups getting together. This is a civic responsibility. I hope that kind of answers.
That's a good beginning, and you have to come in with the fiscal, financial piece too.
I think you got to show it, yeah.
Attention, no?
Yeah, if we want to support what we all care about, the art is fundamental.
Well, we're going to move into the sort of the discussion, the group discussion session. Thank you so much, Jennifer.
Thank you.
For joining us.